Hello everyone and welcome to Adobe XD for UI UX design. On our previous lesson, we learned on how to use grids. For this lesson, we will learn how you can make wireframes and how wireframes help along with grids to make a unique design layout or a previously made design layout. And I'm going to show you an example where you can basically make like an Instagram layout. So let's go ahead and get started. So here we have our new file over here. So I'm going to go with, let's say, iPhone 14 Pro Max. You can also click down over here to change which type of phone that you want to make it with. You also have the web version over here. So instead of that, let me go back to home over here. Let me go back to home over here and create, let's say, an iPhone or another file. So you can also drop down and see different forms of, and also Instagram story, Facebook cover, any kind of social media cover, banner here. You can also do that. So let's go for iPhone 14 Pro Max over here. There you go. Now we have our different layout. I'm going to go ahead and select this. As you can see, we have this one over here. Now I'm going to download an Instagram screenshot and show you how you can basically make wireframe. Now, as you can see over here, I have downloaded an image from Pinterest in an Instagram screenshot, like a normal screenshot. So how wireframing works, or what is a wireframe in the first place, if you are confused about that. So wireframing is basically you have a sample, or you need to have a basic idea on how framing works. So I'm going to first go ahead, click on this, and have a square grid layout, or I can also have a layout grid over here, but we do not need that border. But you can also do the layout grid like this. So why I did the layout grid right like this is, for example, let's say I scroll it like this. Okay, now I want the borders to match this. So if I were to, like, let's say the border over here under the layout over here. So I'm going to select our first, I'm going to select this artboard, go to layout over here. We have 4 columns, right? We can work with 4 columns. So you do not need the columns, but we want to have the border or the linked margin over here. And we want it to be, this works perfectly, as you can see over here. Now I'm going to first disable our layout grid over here. So I'm going to disable the grid first and select this. Now, as you can see, it's more than our iPhone 14 Pro Max. So I'm going to first realign it so that it's from the center, from the bottom to the top, because we do not need the time and date over here. We just need the design of the app. So in case for app designs, you do not need to make the borders for the date and time on the space on top. You just need to make the base design. So I'm going to first click on this. I'm going to set the opacity to, let's say, 15%. I'm going to set the opacity to 15% over here so that we can have a base understanding on what to work with. And then I'm going to go ahead and log this layer so that we do not interact with it to make our wireframe grid, that is. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to put the grid on, and I'm going to put the square back on so that we can appropriately place our boxes over here. So I'm going to go to the rectangle box over here, and then I'm going to create rectangle boxes surrounding all the UI elements over here. And what I mean by UI elements, I mean by, let's say, this arrow mark over here that you can see. I'm going to first create a UI element encompassing this arrow, and I'm going to disable the fill color over here so that I can basically manage and create a UI element or design over here. As you can see, it completely encompasses our entire element over here. Now I'm going to go ahead, copy this, select this first, then copy this. There you go. And I'm going to put it under the notification over here. So I'm going to move this a bit right over here. And I'm going to expand it over here. There you go. Now I'm going to do basically the same thing for every single thing over here. So I'm going to first copy this over here for this today. So I'm going to go ahead and move this so that it fills up today over here. There you go. Now, as you can see there, you have 2 types of elements over here. One is for like two circles over here for if you have multiple accounts for, like liking your story. So I'm going to go ahead and create two types of elements over here. Now, these two types of elements will only be like applicable for coders or developers for an if or not. So if you're not a developer or coder, well, what that basically means is if, let's say, one person likes your story or updated their story, you will get the notification. So only one circle will pop up. But if more than one person were to be interactive with a notification, then you will have this type of element. So how can you create this type of element? So I'm going to go ahead and use create a circle first. And first I'm going to go ahead and make it so that it is the perfect size over here. As you can see, the perfect size over here. Then I'm going to go ahead, create another one over here. Then I'm going to select both of them. Go ahead, select this, and then I'm going to go ahead, select the Eclipse one over here and put this on Eclipse 2 over here. There you go. Now what I'm going to do is basically copy this both two. So I'm going to select both of this. I'm going to copy this and create another over here and increase its size significantly bigger over here. Now I have the Eclipse 4 over here, which I will put on top of Eclipse 5 so that I can see. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase all the borders over here so that I can see them. Now I'm going to go ahead, select this and go ahead and subtract. So I'll have this one now. Then I'm going to enable the border again and basically have this one placed on top of this one like this, as you can see. Now I'll go ahead, erase the borders. There you go. And as you can see, we have this one. I'm going to group this together so that it looks perfectly aligned. And as you can see, it's perfectly aligned like that. Now I'll go ahead, change the fill color to, let's say, red for now, so that you can see that one. And you can basically copy this and paste this like this. There you go. And for the bigger one, it's very simple. You just create a circle, which is as big as this. There you go. That works perfectly. Now, yeah, the border over here, you can give the border to, so you can create another circle and just remove the fill and add a stroke in. That way you can like add the border in. So for example, if I were to copy this, paste this like this and increase the size of it, there you go, remove the fill for it. Basically decrease the size a bit more. There you go. And change the color of the border to, let's say, red. Over here, there you go, and select the inner circle, change the color to red for the border again, and remove the fill color. There you go. So you can make something like that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and group them together and basically do the same thing, copy pasting everything over here. Do the same thing over here, copy pasting everything over here. There you go, aligning it to center onto like to match the top part over here. And you can do basically the same thing over and over again. There you go. Then I can copy this one and place it right over here. There you go. Now, as you can see, we have a nice, very wireframe over here for the text panels over here. So I'm going to put it like this at the center and then increase its text size like this over here up until this point. And why I put this up until this point, it's because, and as you can see, everything needs to be perfectly aligned. So as you can see, this and this boxes over here do not align perfectly. So I will align it perfectly like this. There you go. Same case for the bottom parts over here. I'll align them perfectly. I'll align this text box perfectly with this margin over here. I'm going to select this one and then move it up a bit over here. There you go. And then increase the text size over here. Now you need to make sure that every text boxes are of the similar height and width in case for these stories over here, you cannot just make it like, for example, this one is much more bigger than this one in case for here, like the height. So this one is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 boxes, right? So, but this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes only. So I need to expand this to 7, 8, and 9 over here. There you go. So we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 boxes each. Now you have to do basically the same thing and expand it below. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. But I'm going to go ahead and move it like this and also place it like this over here. So there you go. Now I'm going to basically do the same thing. I'm going to copy this and have a 10 box over here. There you go. Now, you do not need to perfectly align it with the screenshot that you have here over here, but you can align it perfectly. Now, if I were to press Ctrl D after copying and pasting for same time, cancel Ctrl D, nothing happens. As you can see, nothing happens. In other softwares, you'll find Ctrl D to have an effect of copy pasting everything, or copy pasting the same action that you did over and over and again. So I'm going to create a very nice, neat wireframe over here. Now I'm going to select this and move this so that it matches there. Select this and move this on top and move so that it matches there. Same case for this one. I'm going to move this so that it matches our, not this one. I want to group these two together. So I'm going to group them up together, or select the group 3 over here and move them up so that it matches this entire part. Same case for this one. I want to move this so that it groups up over here. And I would want to basically do the same thing over and over again. Now, as you can see, there are different forms and sizes of, in the right side, like you have the follow, you have the images as well. So what to do with that? You can go ahead, create, like, let's say this object over here. So I'll go ahead, copy this and paste this over here. And I'll basically remove it so that it's 2 pixels away from that part, or 1 pixel or 1 box away from that one, and basically copy and paste them over and over again. So I'm going to come back after doing the entire layout over here so that I can show you what I'm trying to do. Now, as you can see, I have already made my artboard over here, and I have basically made everything. So I can go ahead and disable the view for this one so that you can see that now I have, and go ahead, select this artboard first and disable my square grid format over here. Now, as you can see, we now have a wireframe. So I'm going to select all of this, change the fill color to, let's say we give a border color. There you go. Now, once we have a border color given here, let me remove the fill color, as you can see over here. If I were to select this object over here, let me give the border color so that you see the borders as well for this one. Same case for all of these 3. So I'm going to add in a border color. There you go. So that you see. Now, if I were to compare this, if I were to like go to select this artboard over here, there you go, and go to the layer segment. If I were to select this, double click on that, go to layer segments and re-enable the view. Now, to explain how this wireframe works, now I have every objects over here. This is basically the wireframe. I'm going to lock everything here and basically use this as a guide to design my entire layout. So I can go to and select, double click on this, select everything over here, change the opacity to, let's say, 15% again. So I'm going to select 15% again over here. Then double clicking on this again, or double clicking on the left side over here icon, and basically turning this one invisible. Now I have a wireframe, as you can see. Now I have everything here. Now I can go ahead and select everything, as you can see. The Eclipse says as well. So I will go ahead and group that. Now the paths over here, as you can see, I have created like separate paths, I guess. I do not need this path, so I can go ahead and delete that, but I do not want to delete that. Let me re-enable that again. So as you can see, we have a lot of things over here that we can work around with. So I'll go ahead and group all of them together so that I can manage them properly and then lock them. Now, once that is locked, now I have a wireframe. Now, what does this wireframe does on each and every box? Like for example, in Instagram, you have the go back button, which is this one. You have the notifications text inside this one. Then this is today. And the bigger rectangle over here that you see is basically the scroll. So if I were to select this rectangle, as you can see, if I were to go back, or if I were to double click on this, double click on that, if I were to, like, let's say, go over here, hover over here, as you can see, I do not have, I'll just, like, it's better for you to rename what you see over here, because it's easier for you. It will become easier for you to, like, differentiate, like, which is which. Like for example, this rectangle over here. Now scrolling plane. Now what I meant by this is this will basically be a scrolling lane. So you can give the layout over here. You can give it manual. So if I were to unlock this for example, so select this over here. Now you have the manual over here, fixed width, fixed height. You have the transform tools over here, but I do not want that. Let me go to the scrolling plane over here, reveal that, and change the opacity to, let's say, 100%. So let me expand this. So we select the scrolling plane. As you can see, we have the scrolling plane over here, change the opacity to 100%. So that is much more easier for us to view. Now, once this is selected over here, you have the auto and manual part over here, but we do not need that. Under here, you see the stack, enable or disable stack. So here you have the vertical stack, you have the horizontal stack. So under the vertical stack over here, you have this options over here. As you can see, the vertical stack, you can go ahead and change. This is basically the layout, how you can change the layout inside of it. So anything that you put inside of this, you have to select this. As you can see, expand this. Let me expand this, not this one. So let me expand this, group 14 over here. Let me select this. So anything that I put underneath this one. So if I were to select a rectangle and place it right over here, you see a rectangle being made over there. And I can put it underneath over here, or I cannot put it over there as well. So I'll go ahead and delete this rectangle. So anything that I put inside of this and put it underneath, I can change the layout for it. Or I can add another artboard and put it inside there as well if I want to. So you have the blend mode over here, which you can change. For the blend mode, you also have the different radius for each corner. So you can change the corner width as well. But what I'm trying to say is you can make it so that it is a vertical plane over here. Okay, so what I mean by vertical plane, I can go ahead, select this. I then go ahead, select, let's say, a new artboard. I will try to match this one. So I'll teach you what prototyping is, but what I'm trying to say here is basically, let's say I put it right over here. Okay. Now this artboard is basically this artboard. I can rename this artboard to scrolling plane. There you go. And anything inside this artboard over here, or anything inside here, let me go ahead first, expand this, select everything, and press Ctrl+Shift+G to ungroup everything. So as you can see, now I can select these parts over here. If I were to go ahead, select everything here, and basically move them over here, there you go. Now we have our another wireframe, or copy them. Let me copy it. Copying it will make it much more easier for us to use. So there you go. Now we have this segment over here. Now this segment over here, you can also select the artboard as well and expand it much more farther below to add more things or UI designs elements in it. So underneath the scrolling plane over here, you have the scrolling. As you can see here, you can select that to vertical. So what that basically means is if you were to, let's say, select this, expand this much more farther in, and when prototyping. Now, what is prototyping? Prototyping is basically means that whatever animations or anything that you do, you can preview them. And let's say you give an interactive button over here, you click on that button and you see some animations of that button after clicking on it. So for example, I'll teach all of this in a later lesson. For example, buttons that shift from light to dark modes, right? For certain apps, themes, or any websites or any kind of UI. So you're interacting with that button and there's some animation and the entire UI changes, right? So it's kind of like that. If I were to add more designs here and add the scrolling, as you can see, the scrolling over here, the vertical scrolling over here. So I can go ahead and change it, and basically in that preview panel, if I were to add more designs here, I can basically use it and scroll. So if I were to select all of this, for example, there you go. Let me first select this one, let's say. Now underneath here you see that it's under a group. So let me go ahead and ungroup this. There you go, so that I can select like specifics of this, and then let's go ahead and copy them. Okay, now as you can see, I copied it, but I would want a grid layout for it, right? But before that, let me go ahead, select this, and underneath the grid, let me go ahead and select the square over here. There you go. Now once the square is up, let me go ahead and copy them again. There you go. Now I've selected that. Now I do not need the rectangle over here, the scrolling pin rectangle over here, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Now I'm going to go ahead and select all of this. There you go, and then copy them. What I will do, I'll just make a copy, paste it over here for now, and realign them perfectly like this so that it matches our grid over here. There you go. Now as you can see, we have an entire copy version over here. Now I'm going to select everything, change the opacity back to 100% so that I can show you. Then again, delete all of this over here. Now what this basically means is this will be a scrolling plane over here. So if I were to select this, for example, if I were to go to preview over here, now as you can see, I can scroll. So that's basically it for like scrolling, the scrolling over here. So what I'm trying to accomplish here to show you here is that you can use this wireframing to add in elements. So like I can add in text now. I can use the text tool, add in text over here. For example, let's just type in ASD right now, and this text will vary, and you can add the design in and add anything in, and then basically remove this box. Or you can add this box, make it so that this box will be transparent, but the text inside will be visible. So when prototyping, when previewing, you can see that this box is not there anymore, and you'll see only the text over there. Same case for everything here. Same case for everything in these layouts. So that's basically it for wireframing. That's the main objective for wireframing, is basically creating a general layout, custom layout, instead of like grid layouts that you use to organize things. You make a custom layout using a reference or without using a reference, basically sketching your idea as well on paper or on design as well, or digitally or physically. You can sketch an idea, a layout, then import that inside XD over here, and then use that as a base to create a wireframe, and then start making a design on your own using the grids and using your own custom layout, which is also called a wireframe, to make your unique design basically. So that's basically it for this lesson, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.